Good afternoon. Welcome to the press center of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. Here is our weekly update of the situation in the operations area of the joint forces from 1st to 7th April 2019. Last week, the Russian occupation forces has increased the number of violations, with most violations were recorded to be conducting using weapons which are prohibited by the Minsk agreements. The enemy shelled JFO positions with 152 and 122 artillery systems, 120 and 82 mm mortars. Small arms, grenade launchers, heavy machine guns, and other infantry weapons were used as well. Over the past week, from 1st to 7th April 2019, Ukrainian defenders' position fell under provocative fire by the Russian occupation forces for 90 times. Thus, on April 1st, the Russian occupation forces shelled our positions near Krymske, Novoluhanske, and Zaitsevo, firing more than 20 mines. What is more, on April 2nd, the enemy had actively used 152 mm artillery, 120 and 82 mm mortars. On April 3rd, 30, 120 and 82 mm mines were fired against JFO positions. One more time, on April 4th, the Russian occupation forces shelled defense position of the JFO near Novotoshkivske using 152 and 122 mm artillery. 120 and 82 mm mortars were used against our positions near Lebedinske. In general, on April 5th, April 6th, and April 7th, the enemy has fired more than 165 different caliber mines. Once again, the Russian occupation forces deliberately shelled frontline localities. On April 6th, the enemy has shelled the Lotev village with 120 mm mines. As a result of the shelling, the enemy has damaged house of one of the local residents. Fortunately, there were no casualties among civilian population. The situation in the operations area is under full control of the joint forces. Our servicemen and women opened fire in response to suppress enemy activity by using infantry weapons and strictly adhering to the Minsk agreements. As the result of the Russian armed aggression, 9 of our servicemen were wounded in action. We want to inform with grief that during the last week, 5 of our service personnel were killed in action. We express our sincerest condolences to families and loved ones of our deceased defenders. And now to the information of the Defense Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. The Russian occupation forces has started tests of modernized types of weapons and military equipment on the temporarily occupied territories of Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. In such a way, new electronic warfare and anti-UAV systems are being tested within the 1st and 2nd Army Corps and later being sent to the Russian Federation for further development and adoption within the armed forces of the Russian Federation. And now to other news. First and foremost, on behalf of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, I would like to congratulate our partners from the North Atlantic Alliance on its 70th anniversary, which was celebrated on April the 1st. We are proud that the partnership with NATO has become an important page in the history of Ukraine. We highly appreciate the solidarity of the alliance with Ukraine and the continued support provided to the armed forces of Ukraine in the face of the Russian armed aggression. On April 1st, the Royal Canadian Navy frigate Toronto and the Spanish Navy frigate Santa Maria moored in the Odessa seaport. The ships, which carry patrols in the Mediterranean Sea as a part of the second standing NATO Maritime Group 2, arrived in Odessa with a friendly visit and will be in the port for 3 days. The Chief of Staff, First Deputy Commander of the Ukrainian Navy, Vice Admiral Andriy Tarasov, held a protocol meeting with the commanders of the frigates. After the visit to Odessa, the ships have held POSEX military exercises in conjunction with the ships of the Ukrainian Navy. The purpose of the exercises in the Black Sea area was to increase the compatibility of the Ukrainian ships with the ships of the NATO partners. On April 3rd, the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Stepan Poltorak, took part in the reception on board of the Canadian and Spanish frigates moored in Odessa. The Royal Canadian Navy frigate Toronto and the Special Spanish Navy frigate Santa Maria arrived in Odessa port on April the 1st, before the 70th anniversary of the North Atlantic Alliance signing. Stepan Poltorak stressed that the presence of the NATO ships in Odessa demonstrates the real assistance of the alliance to our country in ensuring the safety of navigation in the Black Sea and Azov Sea regions, and this is very important for Ukraine. Successful missiles tests of the new Ukrainian missiles, including control launches of the Vilha-M missile complexes and new cruise missile Neptune, which is capable of hitting maritime targets, took place this week. Minister of Defense of Ukraine emphasized that these complexes will significantly enhance combat capabilities of the armed forces of Ukraine. The President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, congratulated Minister of Defense of Ukraine and the entire staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on the new opportunities arising after the provision of this unique missile complex manufactured in Ukraine. This is all information for now. Thank you for your attention. Captain Sharavar Mikhailo from the Press Center of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine.